Hey guys, good evening. We are going to be doing the commentary for Gunman Clive tonight, and it's going to be a good one, I think. So I initially came in contact with Gunman Clive on the 3DS, weirdly enough, and I remember the one thing that I remember the strongest is its very, 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 very unique visual aesthetic to it, and its incredibly simple gameplay. It's really, really strange to see everything kind of look like a pencil sketch a little bit, which is really, really nice. At the same time, I do enjoy it. And the gameplay, like, it's really lovely how it doesn't try to do too much. It doesn't, like, try to do too little. It's just, we have a select amount of upgrades for you. We have some basic enemies. And we have some basic platforming. And I really like how it doesn't try to overstate itself a fair bit. Overall, I had absolutely zero issues going and filming this game. It was very, very shocking to me because at the time, the capture card hadn't kicked the bucket yet. So I was literally sitting here saying to myself, okay, well, we know that we have to go and film this because we want to, but, is the card going to play up? Is it going to throw a corrupted frame? There was literally nothing wrong with this game. It was the easiest game to go and film out of all of them. It's like this short little 30-minute long game, and it was yet it was the easiest to actually go and film. No corrupted frames, no double takes, triple takes, just nothing. It was just so damn easy, and I kind of wish that all the games that I had filmed were like that. It was buttery smooth from start to finish. The gameplay is very, very lovely, Even editing it was really, really easy. From start to finish, doing Gunman Clive took me, I shit you not, about an hour and a half. It was just so stupidly simple with how it goes about going and getting everything done. The gameplay, I find, is a little bit weird sometimes. The gameplay is solid. It's not a kind of bullshit difficulty per se. It's a very, very simple game. Has a little bit of an old school difficulty to it. And the game also revolves around being speedrun a little bit. It's just one of those games where it's like, okay, well, you beat it once, now let's see how fast you can do it. It has a multitude of stuff that you can actually go and unlock. Doing the duck run is always really, really nice. It's something that I've always enjoyed, I think. So it really, even when I was going and rendering it, it required like no correction whatsoever. It was always very, very colorful, and it never really looked too bright or not bright enough or, anything like that. It was just a very, very simple process. So I was actually really ecstatic to go and find it on the Switch. As I said earlier, going and playing it first on the 3DS was great. I saw that it had received a sequel a couple years later, but by then I was like, oh, I'd already moved on from the 3DS to the Nintendo Switch and stuff, so I never really saw a need to go and pick it up. I was thumbing around the Nintendo Switch eShop when I saw that this game actually came with its sequel in a double pack. And I just kind of sat there and I said, man, that game is really fun. I wonder, if it still is fun all these years later. And so Gunman Clive, I find, is kind of like slipping on a nice comfy pair of pants, right? You go, you forget about them for a while, then you forget them in the closet, and, you wait a couple of years, and you come back and you notice that the pants are still there. You go, you slip it on, and they still feel good. And I think Gunman Clive embodies that pretty goddamn well. It doesn't really overstay its welcome, which I think is kind of hard for a lot of games to do these days, because a lot of games are like, well, we want to try to go and get your max money's worth, and so a lot of games have extremely repetitive gameplay, or they'll be like super grindy or whatever the case may be. And with Gunman Clive, I think it's great because its beauty is in its simplicity. It is like Limbo and Inside in that regard. They are both extremely short titles, both Gunman Clive 1 and 2. They don't really try to do anything outside of what its intended purpose is, like a lot of games try to do. It just says, hey, I am a platformer with slight shooting mechanics, and that's pretty much it. We're going to go and have very simple bosses. Like, it literally just goes and does everything so well, you know, and I find that really, really lovely. I like how certain styles of enemy are also colored different things as well. You know, that's always really, really nice. The contrast that the game has reminds me a lot of, oh god, what is it? What the hell's the name of it? A movie that I used to really, really enjoy called Sin City, based off of the graphic novel. And it always does really, really well with accenting its colors and stuff. So you have like this kind of peach backdrop and stuff with little hints of yellow, and then certain things just have colors that pop and stuff. Like, they go to great care, I think, to go and try to highlight certain things for you while leaving other things completely bland, and so it's a really unique aesthetic, I think, that I've come to enjoy and stuff, and it's very, very eye-catching. And I notice, like, they try to keep it super eye-catching when it's something they want you to actively pay attention to, like these horses here. You know, they do a really good job with it, trying to orate the fact that, you know, hey, these guys are a threat. You know, if you don't go and actively kill them, they will kill you, and it's just really, really lovely. I mean, nothing really ever feels... It's one of the few games I think that I've played where nothing ever feels like too much or too little. It always feels like just the right amount, you know, like... It's one of those rare games that I think kids can very easily pick up and play, and adults are going to love. Especially older adults that still kind of remember the whole spaghetti western era, you know? And then it doesn't really, with Gunman Clive, it doesn't really take itself too seriously either, which is really, really nice. You know, it's just a very simple pick up and play sort of experience, and I think I enjoy that quite a bit. Oh god, this block segment, Jesus. The one thing that I think that if I had to criticize it, if I had to pick one thing to criticize, I would have to say that things feel a little too floaty sometimes, especially with jumping and stuff. The physics and the controls don't always feel as responsive as I'd like to see them be, but that's literally just kind of a minor nitpick at this point. You know, it's just, there's not too many games I've played where they don't really give me much, if anything, to complain about. The game is extremely polished. Really, really polished. My entire time playing it, never encountered a bug, a crash, didn't have difficulty going and filming it. I just literally had no issues with any of it. And it's not something that I can really say that I see anymore, you know, like most games that I see these days require a lot of patching just to be functional, which I think is actually rather sad. You know, you kind of go and you look at it and you're like, oh geez, you know, what the hell happened here? But with Gunman Clive, across all the ports that I've seen, it's always done extremely well for itself. Normally when you have a problem on the game, it's normally operator error, as you can see right here with me struggling to get up this shaft here, but you know, as far as generalized mechanics go, the game is flawless. You know, the upgrades actually feel relevant. Bosses don't really feel like bullshit. You know, most of the time if you go and you lose to a boss, it's normally operator error, or you're trying to go and rush through it, which is what I had a tendency to do with this game and stuff. You know, it just does a really, really good job of being evenly balanced in that regard. And I think that I've always really enjoyed that about the game in general. You know, it always just never really felt like too much or too little. It's kind of, in many ways, it kind of feels like drinking a glass of orange juice, right? You know, it's never too much, it's never too little, it's always just right, and it always feels really satisfying. And I think that's kind of hard to pull off in a game these days. I don't really ever see any games anymore that just kind of say, okay, let's just try to have an experience where you're satisfied. You know, there's normally multiple problems with whatever the hell it is that you're playing. There's either balance issues, the game is crashing, or something. You know, I never really see players sit down and play a game, beat a game, and they just go and say to themselves, damn, that was really fucking satisfying. You know, and it feels good in that regard. It feels really good. It's one of the few games that I still go back and play time to time. Like, I don't try to speedrun it like a lot of people do. I see a lot of people go and they try to speedrun the hell out of it and they enjoy it and stuff, but with me, I just enjoy going back and playing it. I enjoy the music, I enjoy the aesthetic. You know, I just enjoy the mechanics of the game as well. They're really, really fun, and, you know, it's just, there's nothing here to complain about, and I kind of hate it because it keeps the commentary short. Like, it's the only game where I didn't struggle to film it, where I didn't have problems with the mechanics, where I didn't have to worry about crashes, where I didn't have to do multiple takes, you know. And that's hard. You know, that's hard to go and make a game that's like that and to have like a flawless experience like that. You know, like, this game is extremely memorable. It kind of hangs out rent-free in my head 24/7 with Limbo and Inside and all those other art house style games. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's absurd just for the sake of it, as you can see with the train here. It's a really well-rounded experience, and I love it. I love it so much. There's nothing to complain about. I mean, even the replay value, thinking about it now, is kind of there as well, because there are other things to go and grab, and there are other modes like duck mode and everything else where you can go and play as a duck, and the duck has no weapons whatsoever, but it's basically just a jump simulator at that point, just a hardcore platforming simulator, if you would. Yeah, even the backdrops are always really well done. It's weird because all of this is done, from what I understand, in a 3D landscape, more or less, but the aesthetic gives it kind of like that 2D appeal, which is really, really nice. You know, the 2.5D aesthetic has always been really, really great, I think. Even going back as far as like Doom and Donkey Kong and stuff, 2.5D has always been really, really great, I think, when it's done right. I like how nobody even questions the fact that they're literally in a forest having like storks fly through and stuff. Like, you know that somebody at the dev team was just kind of sitting there going, hey, we need an enemy, and somebody who just so eloquently in the background just said, fuck it, shove a stork in there. Like, I'll never... Like, it's weird because some facets of this game are fucking absurd as hell, but you don't question it because there's already weird shit going on. You know, and I think that's really what makes it great. Killer rabbits, not a problem. Killer ducks, not a problem. Ducks and rabbits pairing up with bandits, not a problem. Oh man. Jeez, that was great. Oh, wow. But yeah, it's an amazing game. I would literally recommend it to pretty much anybody. You know, like, it never gets old. It's good for kids, it's good for adults and stuff, and it's just really worth every penny, and it costs next to nothing on top of it. It's truly criminal how good it is for the price tag. But I digress. Alright, that's pretty much going to be it for this commentary and stuff. You know, there's not really much else to go and say about it, so for everybody that came out, ditto, great, I'm glad. You know, I hope you had an amazing time as per usual. And until next time, have a good night, and please, by all means, be good to yourselves and each other.